Millions of unemployed Americans continue to look for work. Former U.S. Labor Secretary Elaine Chao gave us her outlook on the economy and the current administration's relationship with China. We began by asking her about the consequences of going over the fiscal cliff.
To increase tax rates across the board would be very detrimental to the economy and the economic recovery. So I think there is a great deal of concern that these tax levels still remain the way they are. And I think this is a subject of negotiations.
Does it have to be a all or nothing type of situation with the Bush tax cuts? So there's a number of parts of tax cuts, such as capital gains, earned income. Could they separate some of those perhaps in terms of negotiations?
But anything that you separate would mean an increase in tax rates. And right now the economy is in a very bad situation. The labor markets are very weak. Employers are very uncertain about the future. And this is not a time to increase rates. During
this past election cycle, I mean, it's well known now that there was quite a bit of China bashing. Many of the politicians looking for re-election were quite tough on China. Now, post-election, the discussion has been a lot softer and a lot friendlier. We've had a number of notable guests on who have taken a much more conciliatory tone with respect to China. This relationship, as many say, is going to be the most important relationship going forward. How do you see it developing over the next 2, 3, 4 years?
You know, I've said before, politics is a contact sport. And so many things are said in the heat of the campaigns, which are not necessarily, that will necessarily become policy. So, you know, as I mentioned before, politics is a contact sport. And many things are said in the heat of the campaign, which will not become necessarily public policy. And we also have to remember that this is not the first time that Asian Americans have been, you know, the targets of certain very aggressive talk. I mean, for example, 20 years ago, Japan bashing was something very common in the political discourse. I think it's an indication of how small a population we are in the United States. And as the world becomes more globalized, and as our population becomes more diverse, this kind of you know, bashing just will become less and less.
Now, you're on the opposite side of the aisle of President Obama. You're a Republican. President Obama is a Democrat. But if he were to ask you for your guidance as to how to deal with this very important relationship, what counsel
I doubt that he would ask.
What counsel would you offer him?
I think, you know, I think Americans talk a lot. And I think the Chinese don't talk as much. They view actions as more important. So I generally tell people that when they see Americans, they need to listen very carefully. But in this particular case, I would say, look at how the Americans act. Because no matter who the president is, the bilateral relationship between the United States and China is so important, not only to these two countries, but to the rest of the world, that going forward, we're going to have a constructive and engaged policy with each other. There's no other alternative.